Today, as it is, in terms of retirement security or retirement benefit in Malaysia, right, we don't adequately cover everyone in the country. We have a total working age population of about 22 million people. Right? These are people who conceivably should be at work. But EPF actively only covers about 6 million of them. And the government through the pension system covers maybe another 1.7 million. So that leaves a very significant amount of people who are uncovered. And these are people who are either who have left the job or left the workplace, who have basically now are self-employed or traders or doing a small business for themselves. But in most of these cases, they are not adequately contributing towards their own future retirement or their future savings. I think it's one of, at the end of the day, the political reality and the socio-economic costs that we're willing to accept. Right? If you look at the Western European model, for instance, right, where you essentially have a fairly significant amount of state benefits that are paid for by the government towards their citizens, especially a common old age pension, right? Everybody who is a certain age draws on a certain amount monthly from the state. It's workable, but it has a very high tax burden. On the flip side, the traditional Asian model depends on people being self-reliant, essentially saving money for themselves and providing for their own retirement, which is a model that EPF does, the model that Singapore does as well with the CPF. Right? But even in Singapore, they've progressed beyond basically just looking at what you save towards essentially doing some annuitization and pooling of assets to allow people to basically draw down on a common or life cycle income for them. Cryptocurrencies in the first place, I think, are not really an asset class in the first place. They're purely speculative investments or speculative ways to put your money at risk. And really, all you get from holding a cryptocurrency really is the hope that somebody down the line will buy it from you at a higher price than you paid for it. There is no yield. Unlike, for instance, holding US dollars or holding sterling pounds or even Malaysian ringgit, right, where you actually get a yield from just holding that currency, you get no yield from holding a crypto. So it really doesn't suit our purpose at all in terms of our asset investment. The most important thing I always tend to look for in my people, right, and I always encourage them to do as well, is to always have a sense of curiosity and a sense of basically of trying to understand or learn new things on a continuous basis, being open-minded and being someone who questions what they're doing. So one of the things I do challenge all the people who work here basically is to always look at what you're doing, what processes you're doing, the policies you've been using for the past few years. And where it's not relevant, right, just come up and propose to me or to any of the senior management a change, right? And the mantra has always been, how do we simplify what we're doing, whether it's an internal process or it's an out-facing process? How do we simplify it for our own benefit and for the benefit of our members and employers? You should be more able to take risks with your career, right? So while we always like to talk about trying to retain people for as long as possible, the reality basically, I think, is that a lot of people should look at the currency. If it's not really working for you, or you think basically you've reached the upper limit of your potential in a particular career, then don't hang around. You should already be looking to see what else you can do with your next move or your development. Because really, I think to me, the worst thing that could happen basically is for you to end up stuck doing something on a daily basis, day in, day out, and you're not really enjoying it anymore. Always be on the lookout for opportunities. I think what we learned in terms of the last 1 year, in fact, stretching back to 2016, and the kind of political shocks and upheavals that have happened with things like Brexit or the American elections, is that in every upheaval, there's an opportunity to be had. And what we learned from that basically was the ability to be very flexible and nimble and to seize those opportunities. So for instance, we now have on standby basically facilities that allow us to invest rapidly and deploy money rapidly into assets that we feel have been sold down unnecessarily or which have basically taken an unnecessary price markdown in the markets. To get the election out of the way, that will end a lot of, I think, right now, market uncertainties that tend to always float around whenever there's an upcoming general election. So to me, the earlier we get that out of the way, I think the better in terms of market certainty. Secondly, I think what we're looking at basically is the constant pace of technological innovation. We think that 2018 will see a lot more coming in, and you've already seen a lot of the mania that's hit this year with things like crypto and all the rest, right? I think that pace of technological disruption will just keep getting faster. So that's one thing we are keeping a very close eye on, right? How does it affect, not so much from a point of view of what we're going to invest in, but how does it affect the businesses that we're already invested in?